Hello guys, and welcome back to another video. Today, I have a game where I played uh, bad, but because it was very chaotic and I knew the position better, I ended up winning with a pretty nice checkmate. So, the game starts with e4, c6, the Caro-Kann, and I don't go for the line where that I started playing, which is knight c3, and then like some Alekhine Gambit type stuff. I just took and then went back to my old line, the Panov attack. Because no one really knows what they're doing. Knight f6, book move, c3, adding as much pressure onto the pawn. This is a line that you have to know if you're a Caro-Kann player. Knight c6, knight f3, all book moves, a6, which is not a bad move. This is actually a pretty good move. My opponent is a very defensively minded player, so he obviously knows his lines. As you can see, he took 1 second of thought on this move. So the engine likes bishop g5, but I didn't play that, and also c5. That's a move in the Caro-Kann, but I just took. This is stuff that normally happens, and then queen b3. Engine doesn't like this. It thinks that it likes bishop d3 and bishop c4. It wants to develop the bishop, but I thought having the queen over in this like general area would be better to put pressure on this, put pressure on that. He should probably just trade, but bishop e6, which is actually the best move, sacrificing the pawn, and because I didn't calculate at all, I missed the only move, which is knight to g5, attacking. Makes a lot of sense. I don't know why I didn't play that. Instead, I didn't play this because I thought this looked bad, but it actually doesn't, because it takes queen d6, and then you take like this, and then after you take, it's just, this is apparently really winning, or no, I'm supposed to trade, oh, and then his pawns are doubled, but okay. Instead, I got my queen trapped with queen takes b7. I saw knight a5, but I didn't really look at it that hard. I don't know why I wasn't calculating as much. I don't normally do this. But he takes, my queen is trapped, so after a bit of thought, I sack the bishop, which is the correct move, the only move. So now I have 2 pawns for a bishop, which it looks weird why it's -3 when it's just 1. He only has +1 point of material, but his position is much more developed than mine, which looks pretty sad. Looks pretty sad. So it's still a tricky position to play, because if you block with the bishop, you lose your knight, and if you block with the knight, obviously you just lose the knight like that, and then you lose the rook or the knight. So queen d7, only move. I trade one last trick. I didn't want to trade queens, obviously. I'm in a horrible position. So I did one last trick. If you take my queen, obviously, you get forked, and you're just bad. So instead, he does the right move, which is taking like that. I bring the queen back, obviously just trying to keep it on the board so I can attack. E6, defending, trying to develop, obviously pretty standard stuff. The knight hops in to attack the queen and just put pressure generally on the queen side. In these lines, I'm going to probably castle and put the rook on e1 so that this is pinned, and this check is like very devastating, and then maybe in some lines the bishop comes out like that. But he defends all of that. I calculated that he would go queen c8, which is not as good, but yeah, queen b7 is the best because it attacks this pawn, which isn't really that big of a threat. It does that, and it guards this square, most importantly. So castles, getting my king out of danger, so I'm gonna get... Actually, castles, I thought for some reason defended the pawn, and it kind of does. I just moved the rook. I'm threatening f3 to maybe trap the bishop. Not really right now, but like with the proper setup, maybe. But we get bishop d6, attacking my knight, obviously trying to trade off all the pieces, and then I sack this pawn, which would be horrible for him to take. If he takes, I have rook here. No, not rook there. Yeah, no, I think it's that rook. Yeah, rook A to B1, and he's getting slaughtered on the king side, and it's actually a draw. So he just took, and I took with the bishop. I took with the bishop because I didn't like taking with the rook. I'm not really sure why. That seems like a better option. I put a little bit of thought into this, so I don't really have an excuse for doing that. I think it's just because I wanted to play rook f3, but I mean f6 with tempo. You can't do that against that. But oh well. Queen f3. I'm falling right into my trap of rook e3, which is what I meant earlier. The queen backs up, and I put the rook on the open file. Which, by the way, this pawn is still hanging, but you still cannot take because the rook and then the queen gets in. So the bishop goes back, and he loses a major chunk of his advantage because of bishop takes. And I didn't see this move, but I guess the point is that he's poisoning the pawn like this. But after queen takes h7, which I didn't see, in long castles, yeah, everything's pretty nicely defended. I just, like, f5 looks pretty bad. I don't want to have to deal with that. So I didn't take, and instead I played rook to g3, attacking the pawn that did not need to be attacked twice. But okay, f6, the best move. Bishop f4, because I don't really see where else I would go. It wants bishop takes f6 just to sack the bishop. But, I mean, literally no one's playing this. Yeah, no one's gonna play this line. But anyway, my opponent offers a queen trade, which is really good, and well, seems really good to do, but it's actually really bad. After takes, and rook c5. Wait, no, not rook c5. My bad. Rook a3, which pins the knight, something that he can't get out of, so he'll probably just castle. And then rook c5 attacks the bishop. He cannot block the rook like that because of my bishop. And when he moves it out the way, I'll just win the piece, and I'll be up a pawn. So I didn't do that though. I didn't find that, and it just made more sense to me to keep queens on the board. So instead, I played queen to a3, which is a blunder because it gives back all the advantage. But I thought, oh, the queen is going to guard off all the king, and also when I saw this move, I anticipated, oh, my opponent's trying to go there and checkmate me, so he's basically forcing me to take. So if I go here, my opponent's probably going to play queen d5, and I have a nice tactic. As you can see, I spent like 3 minutes of thought on this move, and I thought, well, even if the knight goes, I'll just go back, and then I've got like a nice pin. That doesn't really work, but okay. And I was correct. My opponent did play queen d5, and now all of the advantage comes back to me by one move, which is rook takes c6. I don't really know what you would call this. I would say this is more of a remove the defender sacrifice because of this idea. So I saw this. You can't take with a knight. That's pretty obvious. That would just be horrible. But you have to take with the queen because if you don't, you are completely losing. So you take with the queen, and then the move rook g7, which the king is getting cut off completely, and now my bishop is gonna come and murder it like that. But the reason why you can't take now is because that is mate. So you have to remove the mate piece and then go there. So now we've got the king boxed up. What does he play? He plays the best move, king d8, to get out of the checkmate. And then the move here is this, and then you have b4, which wins the knight back because the knight can't go there because of b5, and that is just really bad. You have to sack the queen because if you do anything, the queen can't stop protecting this and this. So, I didn't play that though. I played an okay move. It still gets a draw, and it's really hard for my opponent to defend. It wins the knight, and my opponent goes there. But the reason why this is not as good is because now my bishop is pinned, and I have to move the queen like that. But he checks me, I move. He checks me again. This is the best move apparently. He's hoping for a draw, but I block, and he does not have another check, except for this, in which case I just move. And now he has to play very accurately, but my opponent, as you can see, as he gets 10 minutes, he spent over 40 seconds on this move. So I'm just going to create as much threats as I can to try to win the game. I played queen b4. I can't really remember what my idea was. Oh, yes, it was to win the queen like this, because I can't win it now, obviously, because takes, and he's just up a rook, so I can't do that. But he has 26 seconds. He spends 20 of them on a blunder, and now we've got checkmate in 2 moves. So, yep, that's all I got for you today, and I'll see you next time.